Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Prusa MMA. Today I am with professional mixed martial artist. He is the El Matador. He is Mr. Emmanuel Manny Sanchez, and he is returning to the cage. He's going to be in XFC 51 when he takes on Kenneth Cross, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, September 27th. Manny, you've been on a really good winning streak lately. Obviously, I saw you down in Lakeland when you beat Danny Salas. You're coming off of a big win over Peter Petty's over at Anthony Pettis' promotion. You're looking to make it 3 in a row. When you got the phone call, XFC called you and gave you the opponent. What were your initial thoughts?
I actually showed up to the gym, and my coach told me, "Hey, we got another southpaw," and I was like, "Oh man." Because I hadn't heard anything from my manager yet, and we were still just waiting to see when, where, who, etc. Right? And when he told me, he just showed me the fight right away, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, Kenneth Cross." I was like, "All right, I see Bellator vet, Contender Series vet, another good fight, good opponent, and yeah, that's what I want. Guys that come in, fight, bring it, and." That only puts on for amazing fights, and that's all that I look to do with whoever I'm in there with, wherever I go, whatever I do. And so just the fact that it's in Milwaukee again, it's great. All friends and family can come and watch, and yeah, it's gonna be a damn good night.
You're coming off of a big victory yourself. Obviously, you were able to main event in Milwaukee just a few months ago on Anthony Pettis' promotion against Peter Petty's. You're able to pick up a huge win. Do you feel that momentum? Are you feeling that you're like riding a wave now, 2 fights in a row?
Most definitely. I had to change a lot of things up. A lot of things needed to change up in my personal life. Things that just really obviously affected me professionally. But on the other side, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all of the above, right? And so it was all good, man. You need to take a step back. You got to take some step backs to be able to go, forward, right? And that's where we are right now. Continuing to just go all the way up. Rock bottom has built more champions than privilege ever has, and so nothing's ever been handed to me. Nothing's ever come easy to me or for me. And I've had to work and bust my ass for everything that I've wanted and that I've accomplished. And yeah, I'm proud and happy to do so and continue to do so until my time is up. So I'm just chasing greatness, and we're gonna go out and get another finish.
You put some really good people around you. Obviously, Eve Edwards, Adrian Yanez, Ralphion Stott. I mean, the list goes on and on here. You surround yourself with some great people. What was the decision in moving to Texas? What was the decision to go with Eve and, maybe kind of a refresh, but change that chapter in your training?
So when was it? Yeah, it hasn't even been a year yet since I've been down here. I was going to go on a little tour. I've been to Las Vegas, love all my guys in Vegas. Been to California. That's nice. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I trained in Florida, but not like obviously like ATT or Kill Cliff or anywhere else. And I had friends that had gone to Arizona or that were in Arizona as well too, still training in Arizona. So I was going to decide, like, all right, let me see, because I got friends everywhere that train it all over the place, like the places I just named, right? And I knew Rafion had obviously originally born and raised here in Houston, Texas. And I kept telling him on how I would come visit him. So I came to Texas first. And once I came, I just felt like, nah, yeah, all right. I don't feel the need to want to go anywhere else. I'd love to go to all those other places as well, too, to continue to visit and train, which I have, to see my friends and train with other people. But, yeah, I just felt like this felt right. And, yeah, I decided to stay here and not need to go anywhere else. But the main reason on top of that, too, was the weather. So, number one, the weather. I couldn't stand the cold up there in the Midwest, man. As much as I love the Midwest and all my family's up there, yeah, I'd seen too many winters. I just can't take it. And so having the heat down here, the training down here, and just the environment, the Southern hospitality is real. So man, Eves, Rafion, Adrian, Matt Schnell, Lil Camster, Cameron Smotherman, a lot of other guys that are up and coming as well too. I just, yeah, this is most definitely where I feel like I need to be, and where I want to be, and even outside of training with all the guys that are with Eves and the Thug Jitsu guys, there's so many other academies and fighters and teams and people that just have a good camaraderie down here. And so I just felt like I made a lot of good tight bonds and relationships with people that I have down here now. And yeah, I'm solid.
Eve is a guy who's been around for a very long time. He's a very respected name in the sport. What is it like to train with him? Does that guy get pretty intense?
Oh man, it's amazing. I mean, I told him, like I tell any other interviewer as well too, like, of course, what do I want out of this, how far and how much longer can I keep going? And I'm like, well, he fought till he was 38. I know a lot of guys, they a lot of people I consider legends fight till 38, 40, 41. Like, I mean, look at Yoel Romero, Andre Arlovsky, man, 45, 46, still going. So I mean, uh, just chasing greatness. I tell everybody too. I don't know if I'll get to as many fights as Eves. I think he's got more than 60, but we're gonna rack up as many wins as we can. Of course, get ourselves to, where I know I belong and where I'm at as being one of the best in the world. I don't let some BS results and things that have happened in my life define me or define like my level of greatness. So I know where I'm at, and then being around him, seeing as he's fought all over the world and all the, of course, great fighters that he's fought, being a pioneer as well too in the UFC, and all for lightweight division, like it's huge. So it's perfect having someone like him, who's been there. He knows it all. Because yeah, you don't get to that many fights and that many years of fighting without obviously being intelligent and having that resiliency and discipline and work ethic and desire and passion to go out there and be considered a legend. So yeah, he is the man.
You've been at this crazy game of combat sports now for a very long time, man. You found some of the biggest promotions in the world. Is that mindset, is it different now than it was for you maybe 6-7 years ago?
Yeah, I have to say, things change. I have a lot of younger guys that are here to train with as well too, so that's nice. Being at the next wave, the next chapter, I guess you could say, of my career. I'm not in my 20s anymore, so it's different when you're in your 20s and you're on the come up. When I see these guys, whether they're amateurs up and coming or pros up and coming, wanting to make and get to that next step of the Ultimate Fighter, Contender Series, something, right? Bellator, PFL, Risen, etc. I've established a name for myself, fought other well-established names and other guys that have been up there as well too at the highest level for a long time. So yeah, it's awesome. I appreciate it more, seeing how the journey has gone. It's a lot different than how I pictured it, but it's all good, man. I guess that's the beauty of it. You got to trust the process and enjoy the journey. And I know everyone's heard that before, but too many times we, of course, think that we want everything to go a certain way at a certain time, and it's not always going to go that way, like how you want it, when you want it, etc. So you just have to stay patient. You have to stay in the grind, and yeah, trust the process, enjoy the journey, and just never stop. Work hard, dream big, and never give up.
No, so you're making your return to XFC, a promotion that's going through a rebirth, some ownership change. Yeah, they've been doing some big things. I mean, these cards that they've been putting out is loaded with UFC vets, Bellator vets, PFL vets. There's some really big names on the card. When I look at your matchup with you and Kenneth Cross, I look at it and I see in my head, this is what XFC is. This is what this product is. You have that young guy, 29-year-old, who's been on the Contender Series. He's fought in the Bellator. A lot of hype behind his name, a lot of stardom. He's a big prospect. People think with a win over you, he'd get back to Contender, UFC, start that. Then you got yourself, who has headlined Bellator cards, fought Pitbull, some huge names. you're not too far, in my opinion, a lot of other opinions, to going back to the UFC. I mean, it's a classic matchup. Is this something that really excites you, or are you just excited about this?
Oh hell yeah! Because this is what I've needed and what I've been waiting for. I mean, just with a lot of changes over the years, obviously Bellator being bought out by PFL, and obviously, like I said, my environment, gym, life, home life, etc., where I'm living now, what I'm doing, and everything changes. But I mean, damn, like having and waiting for opponents outside of no longer fighting in Bellator or PFL and fighting my way to get back in there. We were wanting and needing bigger fights like this and people to accept. And thankfully, we did, and we have. And so I just bang, bang, rattled them off too. And now here we go, ready for the next one as well too. And that's what I've wanted. You know, I'm not. I've never been a guy ever since I was an amateur to ask for an easy fight or a warm-up fight, a tune-up fight, or whatever people want to call it. Just something to get myself back in there or whatever. Like, no, I just know I'm like, okay, whoever is the hungriest, whoever is the most willing, whoever's the toughest, whoever you think, right, is that guy, I'm going to show you that he's not. So I'm going to always go out there and prove on as to why I deserve to be up at that level because I've been there. I know what it takes. And yeah, I'm working to get that back and stay there. You know, it's St. Pierre always said it best. You got to be crazy in the head to do what it takes to get to the top, all the way to the absolute top. And you got to be even crazier to do what it takes to stay there. And yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I've always been. And that's how I'll always stay until, until I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And then I'm ready to, ready for the even next step after that.
Overall, what do you think of Kenneth Cross as an opponent?
Oh, great opponent, man. He brings it. It's, of course, what I've been waiting for, too, someone to accept. Because it's been hard. I wanted to go and continue to keep going and hop on any card that was, an open opportunity with an opponent that accepted the fight. But that's what kind of pisses me off about this next generation now, or these up-and-coming guys, whether they're younger or been, like I said, Ultimate Fighter, Contender Series, PFL, Bellator, whatever. Or were in UFC, got cut or didn't get re-signed, and they're fighting their way to get back in. Everybody wants, I don't know, I guess, things to be catered to them. They feel like maybe they're entitled, that they should have everything their way, when it doesn't work like that, man. Like, even when you are at the highest level, like, you gotta earn yourself to get to where obviously all those pay-per-view stars are and the headliners are, and making a name for yourself. And so I appreciate and look at this guy and saying yes, this is awesome. A good tough guy that brings it and accept it, and all right, let's throw down. Let's make this happen, and here we go. A lot of other guys, turn it down, want an easier fight, don't want to test themselves, want to keep their perfect records if they have a undefeated perfect record, or as clean of a record as they can, just because they want to impress Sean Shelby or any other matchmakers, right, from any of the other promotions. And I get it, man. No one wants to lose. But I guess if you're fighting not to lose, then that's inevitable. It's going to happen. You're fighting for the wrong reasons. I don't fight not to lose. I fight to win. And I'm a winner, and I know that's what I'm going to go do. But everybody else is all like, nah, yeah, man. They're scared of failing. They're scared, period. So don't forget about the Diaz brothers. Don't be scared, homies.
This sport has changed so much in the last 15 or 20 years. I mean, it is elevated from a time where it was being labeled as human cockfighting, where it wasn't legalized in many different states. It was kind of the wild, wild west 15, 20 years ago, and it's evolved. Now we see all these very high-class fighters. You have technology, you have science that, helps them. But now we're seeing the emergence of personality which I want to get your thoughts on this. You have some guys, I'm not going to mention names, I'm sure you can point out some in your head. You have some guys who have a personality, some forced, some natural, that they use that. I'm not saying they're bad fighters, but it makes their life easier. They might be able to get to the title easier. They may need not have to go through the regional scene as much. They get to pick and choose who they fight and be more strategic, as you're saying, to get to the bigger shows. Is this good for the sport? Is this bad for the sport? Is this just something we need to accept because it's the way it is? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's something we need to accept. It's part of the business. I like to talk. I'm a talker. Like, let's chop it up. I'll talk some trash, but you talk the trash, you better be able to back it up. But I'm also Mexican style, man. I prefer to let the fist do the talking, you know? So, yeah, you have to have a personality. You have to have some charisma. And, I mean, with the other stuff, it's just the nature of the business. That's a little out of your control as to, I get also stylistically, making fights, which I get it. That's smart as well too, because I wouldn't say that's avoiding opponents or being scared or ducking guys, but smart matchmaking from promoters, from coaches, from managers, etc., on how, like, oh, okay, they can put together fights to get those guys to where they want to get to. Because where does everyone want to get to, man? Let's be honest. Everyone wants to get to the UFC, right? Or obviously to the highest level and fight in $1 million tournaments and be able to continue to just do this for a living and, be a legend. But you got to fight your way to get there. It can't just be all personality and social media and all that kind of stuff, attitude and persona to get you there. Your fighting also has to back it up too. And if you don't, well then, yeah, man, you get exposed pretty quickly. So that's what's awesome about mixed martial arts as well too. You can run, but you can't hide. So sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you. And yeah, that goes to show for me. I'm someone who's never shied away from fighting 4 or 5 times a year. Obviously staying active and throwing down with the best of them. If it's someone who wants to come in and a striker, a grappler, a trash talker, a quiet, humble guy, whatever it is, man, I don't care. I don't pick and choose. I just decide on, like, all right, like, what's the right move? What's the right fight? Who's accepting? Let's make this happen. Let's do it.
There's only been 2 fights announced so far on this upcoming card, but I would put a lot of money down that this for sure is going to be my lock for one of the fights of the night. I mean, this is all the making to be an absolute war. Are you expecting, or would you not be surprised if this is kind of like a Daniel Salas type fight where you really have to bring the dog out and this is going to be a 3-round dog fight?
Because it had been a while since I had fought, first time fighting in Florida, and what people forget about too with just because people don't know, the Daniel Salas situation, I actually had an opponent switch up right at, like, I think 2-3 weeks. I was getting ready to fight Christian Lawson. So completely different style, build, completely different matchup. And so with the opponent switch and not much, just a little bit of film I had to watch, seeing from his last fight, which I believe it was a better fight because he's obviously a champion from Mexico, I think from the Budo Fighting Championships. He himself, I believe, fought in the Ultimate Fighter, whether it was the tryouts or something. He got up in the Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, a lot of fights as well, too, a lot of experience. My thing is that I'm just pissed I didn't finish him because as great of a fighter as he is, and tough Mexican style as well, too, I knew I could have finished him. But I had to fight intelligent as well, too, to obviously do whatever it took to get the win. And it was just, it was tough to make that adjustment, I guess, just with how I was preparing to fight my last, obviously, opponent that I was originally scheduled to fight, and then having that switch, being ready to fight him. And I handled that with flying colors. And, it was all good. I'm expecting, obviously, of course, a very tough, durable guy who brings it. But, man, that's been the story of my career. every single guy that I know that wanted to come after me, wanted to put me away, wanted to whoop my ass, wanted to really bring it to me. But the bigger they are, the harder they come, the harder they fall. So, yeah, it's going to be another one that I'm going to go put away.
With a victory in a very fashion here, do you think you're a shoo-in for the UFC? Do you think it's really close here if you can get the job done against Cross?
Most definitely. Thankfully, we have the UFC out clause as well too. I've been in talks with Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, and I haven't spoken to Hunter Campbell, but I know my management has, and those talks over the years, just because when I became a free agent, when I hadn't been re-signed, going back 5-6 years ago, with the changes that have just been gone in Bellator as well too over the years, I'd kind of been through all the tiers and changes there, and we were waiting and expecting to see if that was going to happen, if that was going to be on the table. We were always prepared for it, but either way, like, all right, I made myself a household name as being in Bellator, and so we decided to stick there. But no matter what, we knew, I was like, okay, that's always there too. And so would have liked to go down, of course, immediately, like the Michael Chandler route, but it's all right. Go up, take other fights, had to rack up some wins, continue to just go out there and do so. And win over him, get myself right to where I know I belong, man, right where I need to be, proving I'm one of the best lightweights in the world.
There's a couple of you guys in XFC that have fought in bigger shows like the Bellator, the PFLs. Two names that come to my mind, obviously, is yourself. There's House Manfio, guys who've done really big things in the sport, but just haven't, for whatever reason, gone to the UFC yet. For you to be happy, for you to fully plant your legacy, do you feel like you need to go to the UFC? Does the UFC have to be there for you to fully accomplish what you want to out of this sport?
Yeah. But also, I mean, I know a lot of guys who have made, of course, great career and living and never fought in UFC and probably will never fight in UFC. But if they're already that well established, then okay, they don't need to. Obviously, names that come to mind, like you said, Raush Manfio being a PFL winner, a champion, and winning $1 million. Like, hey man, like, you're good. You be smart. You do your thing, and you want to continue to fight. Of course, I'm sure he will. But damn, dude, like, I'm sure him and his family are taken care of. Douglas Lima being the welterweight champion, welterweight Grand Prix winner 3-4 times now, and so I think he's hunting middleweight gold now in Bellator. Patricio Pitbull and his brother Patricky. They've been in with Bellator since the beginning as well too, going all the way back to 2007, 2006, maybe even before that. From what I remember seeing them at that time. So even if, of course, UFC is never, in the future, whether near future or later on, then I mean, I'm pretty sure they're well off. You know what I mean over there. I mean, look at Kayla Harrison. I mean, that was always a thing that she didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Okay, it did, but I mean, I'm sure she didn't need to. Let's just say she just, of course, wanted to, and so that's a thing for myself as well too, I guess. I mean, Juan Archuleta is another one, great fighter, killing it over there in Japan, and there's a lot of other fighters as well too, whether they were not re-signed or cut or etc. from UFC and working to fight their way back, went to other promotions or fighting all over the world, etc. Man, there's great fighters all over the world, wherever you go, man. So, I mean, obviously for me, though, knowing that I've trained and been around many different, not just UFC fighters, but champions, I guess that's something that I know that Yves wants for me as well, too, and my management team. And, that I know we're going to make happen, dude. So, it's time.
When you first got into the sport in 2010, obviously the landscape is totally different than what it is now. You weren't able to fight at all cities because it wasn't legal anywhere. A lot of people thought this was criminal activity and brutal and all this crazy stuff. Just people who were uneducated about the sport. When you first started fighting in some of these early small promotions. Do you have any crazy fighting horror stories of maybe mystery opponents, bad medicals, unsafe fighting conditions, anything crazy or sketchy?
As an amateur, yeah, like fighting with they say sanctioned, but I mean, if there's no commissioner watching you wrap your hands, then I guess it's not really sanctioned. I guess, thankfully, not like in a bar or in barns or something like that. Actually, one time in a bar as an amateur, but nothing too crazy. But there was one fight as a professional. It was damn near Canada, so it was like the border of Washington, Canada. I had to drive 9 hours from Oregon to, where that was, Indian Reservation, and I had to wrap my own hands. And there was a intermission in between amateurs and professionals because it was a mixed card, and I had my own gloves because I didn't know if they were going to provide gloves or not. So I had my own gloves, wrapped and ready to go. Like, I'm ready to fight. In this intermission, the president, decides to tell everyone, all professionals, they have to fight with his sponsor's gloves, whoever was sponsoring the event. And I'm already have these gloves wrapped and ready to go. So I got to talk to this guy or whoever's dealing with giving out the gloves. I'm like, who do I need to hunt down to go get the gloves that you want me to wear to fight then? Because I already have mine. And so I myself had to go out somewhere in the crowd to find wherever the little stand was to get the damn gloves that we needed to fight with. And of course, I wear larges, and they only had mediums. So I could barely make a fist. I remember it was like tight to make a fist because my hands are wrapped pretty well. And the gloves, I don't know if they were just brand new or they sucked. It was tough to make a fist, I remember though. And yeah, a little bit of a shaky, tough minute and a half in that first round. Still finished him in the first round, but still, I was pretty pissed on how that went down. And yeah, I remember all the money that I made for that. I basically paid for my guys in the corner for gas money. And at that point, though, when you're working your way up, it's hard to care because you're trying to build your record. So yeah, it's like you basically pay to fight almost. And of course, no commission, so no one watching me wrap my hands or anything like that. Out in the boonies of some reservation out there where you don't get phone service. And so yeah, that was, I guess, my craziest story. Yeah.
In addition from things being maybe a little more organized, a little more official, another big evolution of the sport has been the pure skill and the pure talent from these fighters. The regional scene in this day and age, I mean, it's absolutely loaded. I asked Jorge Masvidal a couple years ago what his take on why the whole evolution of skill has gone so much. And he said, kids are training now when they're 6 or 7. This is culturally accepted. They're watching at a young age. It's talked about at the dinner table. It's like, hey, you watched the fight last night? You watched the fight last night? By the time they're graduating high school, they're made up that they want to go to the UFC. They want to go to the bigger shows. Do you agree with this? Do you think this is part of the reason why now we're seeing these young kids with so much skill?
Oh, of course, man. It's beautiful to see, I think, with the growth of obviously not just the UFC, but mixed martial arts. Because I don't pay attention to what the internet and whatever people say, casual fans and just UFC fans, whatever. I mean, you watch MMA, man, chances are you see a little bit of everything. These shows that are up and coming as well, too. Fury, CFFC, LFA, XFC, etc. Right? And so these youngsters now, teenagers or, young 8, 9, 10-year-olds are in the gym with other fighters or learning from fighters like myself, because I taught kids for a while, or other fighters that you see. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Benil Dariush, a lot of other fighters that I know, are maybe not head coaches, but they obviously in the MMA community, you see a lot of guys giving back by doing that, teaching the next generation. And so to the kids, to the parents, to fans, etc., like, whoa, that's huge. Like, damn, my youngster is learning from a ranked lightweight or an up and coming professional lightweight, featherweight, bantamweight, whatever. Like it's big for the sport, It's big for obviously the fighter, the team, and the families that are watching that. And I guess that's what you see because uh, who have I seen? Oh, okay, perfect example. Gabriel Vanderlei, uh, my professor's son, started in pancration, kids MMA, since he'd been training jujitsu since he was 4 or 6, something like that. But worked his way on up, competing gi jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu, and then learning striking. So then doing gamma, pancration MMA, so just kids MMA. And now look at him, 21 years old, 22 years old, and 5-1 as a professional. And obviously working his way up to get to Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter, UFC, etc. So yeah, it's huge, man. Because I've been training with that youngster since he was adolescent, and now look at him as a grown man doing his thing. So yeah, it's awesome to see, and I'm glad to be a part of it too. Because I know I didn't have that obviously as a youngster. I was playing football or soccer, skateboarding, doing other things. MMA wasn't as big. MMA gyms, jiu-jitsu, etc. wasn't as big. Now UFC is big, PFL is big, Bellator is big, Risen is big, and obviously all these other up-and-coming shows, UFC Fight Pass, grappling, everything is big. And people are tuning in, whether they're streaming it on the apps, whether they're actually watching it on TV, whatever. Yeah, it's awesome. The whole growth and evolution for all of mixed martial arts.
It's kind of cool for me when I interview guys for a show like XFC. You see the dudes who are maybe in their 20s, who've just been on the regional scene their whole life. They're trying to get there. They're trying to get to the big shows. Now, you've been to the big shows before. Obviously, you've fought a lot of in Bellator. You are a name, but you're still grinding it up to try to get to the UFC. Obviously, in your situation, you're maybe not like some of these younger guys who are making $1,000 on these smaller regional shows. Fortunately, you've made some decent money fighting. You've main evented some shows. But what is that grind like? What is the sacrifice like? I know you're putting all your whole heart and soul in this. For the weekend, you could be hanging out, you could be hanging out with family. Here you are working in the gym. How do you get through all the sacrifices needed to get where you want to go?
I believe just always stay hungry, man. I remember myself being 21, 20, on the come up as an amateur, working my way to become a professional, and up and coming professional, part-time job, full-time job, lots of different jobs. And then maybe if I was blessed, no job, just the money I saved, but then obviously, okay, then going negative, and then, okay, having to get a job again. And of course, fight, but you got to get a job as well too, so you don't just starve, you know what I mean? You have good income as well too, or something, right? Got to do something to provide for yourself. And I think youngsters also need to remember not to get frustrated or let that be a negative or a bad thing. That's something that you have to go through, because then you appreciate what it took to get to where you want to get to once you get it. And then you'll never take that for granted. And then that will be your story to tell the youngsters for you when you get there, for other youngsters that can see, because that's what this generation needs. They need to learn that. They need to see that. Nothing can be spoon-fed to you. Nothing can be just handed to you and given to you. And if it does, a lot of times you see you're spoiled then. You're entitled and you don't appreciate it as much. And you might not know how to hold on to it. A lot of guys I know, maybe they lose it. Or young guys, girls, up and coming, right? That maybe just have it handed to them, or things came easier to them, so they just think they deserve it. The world should just give it to them. And just unfortunate circumstances, things doesn't go their way with that attitude. And so I just feel like you sacrifice more, you learn more, you get a complete different perspective, and it teaches you more about yourself. Suffering builds character. So character development and growth, as of course, not just only as a martial artist, as a fighter, but as a human being, because then you have more empathy and understanding, and I think it's just a better story to tell too, so that when your time has come that you're done and you're a coach or whatever you decide to do with this, with how far you go, you got a much better story to tell, I guess. For me personally, that's just how I feel, and that's what I know. The story that I can share with other people of what I've had to go through, what I'm going through to get myself back to, of course, where I want to be and where I've always wanted to be. Of course, every fighter wants to be. You know what I mean? To be able to set themselves up to guys that, you know what I mean, you own a gym, you have a business or businesses, becoming a world champion. And of course, not everyone can go out and be Conor McGregor, man, or a Poetan, but you do your best to obviously still go out there to achieve that greatness, to provide for yourself and your family, and live off that for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Retire a legend.
I've learned that a lot of guys who have been at the game as long as you have really embraced the journey. The whole journey is something that they really admire, they love. Do you feel it's important for you to kind of maybe share your journey with the youngsters or, the younger individuals trying to get in the sport?
Yeah. I got to teach these young guys that, the younger 20, 21, 22-year-olds, or the teenagers that can't even do full MMA yet, 16, 17 years old, working their way up. I'm like, you got to have fun with this, man. Focus on having fun right now. You're not anywhere near the UFC yet or becoming a professional yet. Like, one day at a time, one fight at a time. And I guess what I've always learned too is earn your degrees, your stripes. Get as many black belts as you can, man. And train with as many high-level fighters and martial artists as you can. I still, to this day, love to go train with people who've never fought MMA, but are high-level jiu-jitsu competitors, coaches, wrestlers, wrestling coaches, etc. You know what I'm saying? Striking coaches, like whether it be a seminar, whether it be just training, whatever. Always stay a student of the game, a white belt for life. You keep that, and you'll always have fun. Have fun doing this. Because if you put too much pressure on yourself, I'm thinking like, oh, I need to fight, I need to be in UFC, or I need to do this, or I need to hurry up, otherwise it's never gonna happen. It's like, I've been there, man. Like you feel like you're getting older, and you feel like it's never gonna happen, or if you do it now, it'll never happen. Like, no, man. Patience. It's how they say it's a marathon, not a sprint. No, this is an ultra Ironman marathon. With all the twists and turns and ups and downs and unexpected obstacles that come along the way. So you just have to adapt, endure, and enjoy the journey. Enjoy it. Even the parts that are ugly, like you just feel like, oh, damn, why am I going through this? It's more like, what is this trying to teach me? Like, how can I grow better from this? How can I grow stronger from this? Arnold Schwarzenegger, my favorite, quotes. Pain is a part of growing. Growing is what I want. Therefore, for me, pain is a pleasure. So, physical, emotional, spiritual kind of pain, whatever, it's part of it, man. And you need it. It just makes you better. It makes you stronger. It makes you wiser. And quoting everybody here, did you use that in your life? Not just in your martial arts journey as a fighter, as a martial artist, but in life, right? So and I'm not this yet, but in the time comes for younger men or ladies out there, right? You become a father, a mother, husband, a wife, business owner, aunt, uncle, cousin, grandparent, eventually all of the above, right? Like, it just makes you that much stronger of a human being. And yeah, that's your story, man. That's what you're going to go out there and tell people and help people to prove. Like, you can't break me. You can't kill me. Nothing can stop me. And you let nothing stop you from whatever it is that you want to accomplish and whatever it is that you want in this life. You got to really go out there and endure, persevere, and grind for it to go get it.
All right, Manny, last question for you, my man. In the perfect world, what would the outcome be when you take on Kenneth Cross September 27th at XFC 51 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
Well, in a perfect world, I guess just finishing him right away, But I'm also with wisdom brings experience. So I mean, I know he's got a lot of wisdom and experience as well too. He's fought a lot of great fighters, uh, and that's the beauty of it as well too. Fighting another fighter who's fought other great fighters. So with all that skill and talent and experience that he brings to the table, uh, it just brings out the best in me as well too. Because then I know, okay, who I'm facing, what I'm preparing for, and so do whatever it takes to go out and get my hand raised. So I'm gonna go out and put this guy away. It's another finish. It's just another day in the office.
All right, Manny. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, man. I'm really excited to see you get back out there and have another tough, great fight, and hopefully see you one step closer to your goals and your dreams here.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it big time. Thank you for the time, and yeah, most definitely. See me there. Let's go.
That's Manny Sanchez. I'm Carlo Prusa. Stick around.